Right, so that should give us a sense of what we're working with. I can go back and listen to that. I don't know of really any YouTubers. Well, there is one, I think, that's playing real amps on the stream, recording in, but he's got a very elaborate setup using two computers. I haven't seen a lot of YouTubers playing real amps live now. Going into the DAW, recording, editing the video, bringing it back in. A lot of people are doing that with real amps, but it's a lot easier to get a good sound with digital when you're doing live. For some reason, it has been for me so far. So I'm trying to work out those kinks because I want to have the real amps live on the stream. It's the way I work. I feel like the stream should be representative of the way you work. Let me get a drink. Hold on. I don't usually have drinks in the studio. It's just like something like a rule I made for myself not to have drinks in the studio because there's a lot of gear in here that it wouldn't be good if drinks get spilled on it, but I get parched in the live stream. So, man, it's Mountain Dew, not a beer. Too early to drink a beer for me. So, I've got this song. Let's look at that. Let's play that because it sounds killer. It sounds badass. I'm writing the lyrics right now. The music for the most part is done. I have a few things I want to do. Like, I want to do some feedback swells going into the choruses, things like this. But right now, I'm working on the vocals. I'm writing vocals. I've wrote one verse. And a lot of times it gets changed 2 or 3 times before the song comes out so I can get the feel right for the lyrics. But I have a good idea of where I want the song to go, what I want it to be about, and that's a big part of it. I saw a thing about, it was an interview with Tom Petty, and I think I reposted it on Facebook, but it's like Tom was saying, he was talking, I think to Cameron Crowe, when Cameron Crowe was, before he really started doing movies, one of the first things he did was this Tom Petty beach party movie. I think it was for MTV, actually. And Cameron Crowe was talking to Tom Petty, asking about his process, right? And he said, well, the hardest part to get started is just coming up with the idea. And he said, once I get the idea, the words flow pretty quickly. And I definitely relate to that. The words don't always flow very quickly, like towards the end product, but usually I can come up with like the first draft of the song, and then once I have that, I can make some changes lyrically and do like a second and third revision, and hopefully on one of those, before revision 10, we get something we're happy with. And a lot of times it's been like, I've thought I wasn't happy with the lyrics because I didn't have the vocals mixed right, and it wasn't sounding right, wasn't feeling right, but really I just needed to do a little more clip gaining and level adjustment and things like this to get the vocals sounding right, and probably one of those earlier revisions would have worked better. But my process for all of the songs that I've released has been rewrite the lyrics 3 or 4 times till I get it like I want it. And I work in the studio. A lot of people sit down with an acoustic guitar and write that way, have the song worked out almost like pre-production, and then just go in and record it. They've got everything all flushed out. It could probably be a quicker way to work like that, actually. Another thing I recently found, I was over at my mom's house and I found a notebook of old songs. Some of them have chord changes in them, but I'm not even gonna stick to that because I can't remember the riffs or the licks that were going into these songs. So, but I do have a lot of lyrics, and so for some of these new songs that I'm working on, maybe I'll bring in some of those old lyrics. I was looking at them and I like the vibe of some of them. So let me do share my screen with you up here, and we'll listen to where this song's at. I'll play through it, at least part of it, half of it or something, and let you hear that so you can hear where we're at. There's no vocals on it right now. I just realized that I didn't have my screen all the way. There's no vocals on it right now, but let's do this and listen to that. So here we go. I'm going to put on my headphones so I don't have to mute my mic listening to the monitors. Here we go. Alright, so I went ahead and let the whole thing play. Something I haven't done yet on the live stream. Like I said, all the guitars are real amplifiers. It's a great sound. I like it way better than digital. When I have to go back through, when I record some stuff in digital to begin with, it always sounds better going back through the real amps. Let's solo up some of these guitars because I did a YouTube video on this Royer microphone, but I really want you guys to hear the dual rectifier with the Royer R10 on it because it's a great sound, and we've been able to use the Royer like an EQ, like a low-end EQ, and it's a very natural sounding microphone. So I want to listen to these amps. Also, the guitar parts are tracked with the twin on it. I have a way to sum both mics down to one input, but I didn't do it on this because I knew I wanted to treat each microphone a little bit differently, have one sending to reverb and one dry, things like this. And also I wanted to make a YouTube video. Once I heard the microphone on guitar cabinets, I wanted to make a video about this Royer, and I did that. So I didn't sum them down to one input, but that's going to be the way we work most of the time because it's easier just to get one track, work with that instead of having to work with two tracks, even though they're identical. So let's listen to the low end on this guitar. I think yeah, this is trim over, and I'm just gonna solo up the Royer and the 57 so you can hear what they both sound like, and then I'll play one and then the other so you can hear what they sound like without having just, you know, each individual microphone. So this is the main riff that I wrote the song from. It's a baritone part. Really, it's my Les Paul, but it's dropped with the Bigsby pedal. So here we go. So you can hear there, it's a lot of low end. But let's listen to just the 57 without the Royer on. And I think the difference is going to be dramatic. Just what the Royer does, I mean, it's like having an EQ. And you can use it to get a lot of different sounds. I've been making music for a long time in my studio, and I always just had a 57 on the guitar cabinets. For a little while I used the Audix i5, which is close to 57, but this really has made me decide to always use two mics on guitar cabinets. I want to try some different things like a 421, use this room mic as well, this large diaphragm condenser. It's basically a Neumann U87, but it's United Studio Technology Twin 87. A lot of great music was recorded with an 87 in the room on guitars. Like AC/DC comes to mind. That open sounding guitar part, the rhythm from Malcolm and lead from Angus, both those guitars, you can hear the room sounds, and that's from an 87 back in the room. So let's listen to this 57 without the R10. Here we go. So you can hear there at the end, that's just the Royer. I played them both together. Here they both are together. And here's just the 57. So you can tell there, it really adds a lot by adding that Royer R10. A lot of people use a 121. A lot of people use a lot of different mics. There's people that will just use 257s and place one at an angle, and it gets a different type of EQ. Basically, doing these mic techniques is like EQing. You know, back in the days of recording before consoles had EQs built into them on every channel, people would have a couple pull techs and use those, but people would mic at the source for the EQ curves that they wanted. Microphones like this, you can use the proximity effect to get low end. Condensers, you can really work with them on the polar patterns. If you use figure 8, it's going to give you more proximity effect, which means the closer you get to it, the more low end you're going to get. If you switch it to Omni, that basically negates the proximity effect. You might still have a little bit, but omnidirectional means it's getting 360 degrees around you, and it really eliminates most of the proximity effects. So that's good if you've got a singer that's got a lot of low end in their voice and you want to try and deal with that in a way that's natural sounding, but not having to use EQ on the channel. just using a microphone in Omni. Or if you're trying to get a little more low end out of something, put your condenser mic on figure 8, bring it in close to the source, and you can adjust your distance to get different levels of low end in different frequency ranges. It's really something you've got to experiment with a lot, and when you're new to recording, a lot of times you just want to start getting stuff recorded. This a lot of times comes later in the process. You know, matter of fact, I had the Royer R10 up over my drums as one of the overheads for 3 months before I even tried it on a guitar cabinet, because I didn't think the effect was going to be that dramatic. And then once I stuck it on the guitar cab, now I won't go back to any other way of miking guitar cabs. They do make, like for a 121, they make a clip, because you do need to get the capsules, like with the 57 and the R10, get the capsules aligned, or the ribbon from the R10 and the capsule from the 57, because it will cause phase issues, and people don't understand how detrimental phase can be, especially on things like drums, where your multiple miking sources have a lot of mics up. If you don't get that phase right, or as close to right as you can get it, your drums are gonna sound like shit, and you're not gonna have any low end there. Frequencies cancel each other with multiple mics on a source if you don't pay attention to phase. A lot of people will do this thing where they mic the front and the back of a guitar cabinet, or top and bottom of a snare. On either of those miking techniques, with the bottom mic or the microphone in the back of the guitar cabinet, you have to flip the phase on your mic preamp or in your DAW. Let me show you what that looks like, just so if you're new to recording, so you can see what it looks like to flip phase. Let me pick, let's see. Yeah, I've got Neve right here that I can pull up and let you see. So this right here, where I'm circling with the cursor, is the phase switch. So when the light's off, it's just like you're recording it, no phase shift. You turn that light on and it flips the phase 180 degrees. And it won't do anything if you're just using one microphone. If you're using multiple mics, like on drums or on guitar cabinets, and you flip that phase, you will hear a difference. Especially if you're out of phase when you recorded it, you should get a lot more low end. And you can use that to your advantage. Sometimes you might want things out of phase for a different kind of sound. Experiment with everything. The way you get things sounding good is to experiment and to try out new things, right? Just like we're trying to get this live stream where the guitar amps sound good. It takes trial and error. You have to learn about these things. Maybe I need to do some mic placement things with that JBL speaker, to get it not sounding so direct. It sounds great when I use it through the DAW, even with no processing on. But I'm trying to get the level way up on my mic preamp, because I'm not going through the DAW for the live stream. I'm just recording direct with my gear and going into the interface, and then letting OBS handle it from there. So I don't have a lot of mixing I can do in OBS. I can adjust some volumes. I have a slider for each microphone, but that's about all I've got. And for OBS, for the YouTube live streams, you really need your volume cranked up pretty well. I hear a lot of live streams where the person speaking is hard to hear, and I don't want that. This is a channel where I engineer, I do music production. Things have to be sounding at least loud enough to be audible and not have any kind of noise in there, being detrimental, or you kind of lose credibility for what you do if you're a music channel or a recording channel and your shit doesn't sound good on your live stream. So we're trying to get the sounds right from the amplifiers for the live stream, because people want to hear those amp sounds. You know, people that use real amps, they dig that sound, and there's a reason for that because it's great, right? And people want to hear demos through real amplifiers, things like this. It's just a little harder to work it out with real amps on a live stream because you don't have that additional processing available. At least I don't. Maybe if you have a brand new Mac computer with no latency with plugins on, but even that's, you know, you're gonna get latency if you have plugins on because the computer processing jumps up. You know, it's gonna cause little bloops in the latency. I have a big problem with that when I'm recording drums. I went to recording drums where I just print a 2-bus master track and open up a new drum template just for the drums. So I'll be working in like this template that you see here to get everything recorded, the whole song. And I even have drums up here. But then I take just this part of the template and I have another template with just the ride, hi-hat, overhead, stereo rooms, crotch, snare, and kick mics, and these buses. I have a template as well, but just that and one other track. And I'll print all the other instruments, make a 2-bus master, bring it over to the drum template, and record in with no plugins on. And I'm still getting little blips of latency where things are, where I play them and they're actually early, you know. So the computer is doing processing, but the sounds I'm making are coming in and they have to be adjusted. All I can figure out for that is that there must be some apps or something running in the background, even when I think I have everything shut off, causing me to get CPU spikes. And, you know, these are the problems you have to confront when you're recording music, when you're engineering, when you're doing music production. For the bass sound on this, it's a direct, you know, going into my BAE 1073 with the Brat pedal on. I had the Brat pedal on and the 1176 going through a hardware 1176 Audioscape 76D. So let me let you hear the bass sound. It's got a little. What I did is I bounced this track because I have some EQ, different things on. I had all these plugins on a Pultec Pro Q4 and this Ableton Saturator and the API EQ as well. API channel strip. So I bounced all that down. You can see it's a stereo track here, just to save CPU and because I'm actually doing the trial of Pro Q4. I'm getting ready to buy it, but I wanted to do the trial because I currently have the Kirchhoff EQ, and the Kirchhoff is about like the Pro Q4. It's the same type of EQ where you can see what's going on with the frequencies in the graph. Let's see, I'll show you. This is what Pro Q4 looks like. Probably everybody that's recording music knows what this looks like. Here's the curve I've got for the bass. I'm doing a little bit of cut at 280. I've got quite a bit of boost, like 10 dB of boost at 98, and then I've got some boost at 7241 kilohertz. So, or 7K, 7.2, and then so this is the Pro Q4, the new Fab Filter EQ, right? Great EQ, like the one everybody uses for digital EQ. And I've got the Kirchhoff. I'm on the free trial of this, getting ready to buy it. But I've got the Kirchhoff, and the Kirchhoff, when I have the GUI open, the interface like this, like I have it open now, I can't do EQ moves in my DAW while I'm actually playing the music back. It's got some kind of glitchy thing. I'm on Windows. Maybe it's just with Windows, or I haven't really heard of a lot of people saying this, but so as long as the music stopped, I can go in and I can EQ things and then close the GUI, close the interface, and my EQ will be there and it'll work fine. But I can't actually use the EQ if I have a lot of tracks open. Something about that interface, it's like I'll do a move and it won't happen till a minute later. It's like everything's extremely delayed with that Kirchhoff EQ in my DAW in Ableton. And I haven't been able to figure out why. I contacted Plugin Alliance. You know, I told them this isn't working for me. They wouldn't refund the money, which it was $100 plugin at the time, and they didn't have any ideas on how to fix it. I'd have rather just kept the EQ and had it fixed, but they couldn't fix it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna get Pro Q3 at the time. But they wouldn't refund my money. So I've been using the Kirchhoff. I just, I like to use a lot of the plugins like the API for EQ that have, the sounds of analog EQ. But this Pro Q4 is really, it's amazing. And I highly recommend you get it. It's killer. You can do so much. And like, if we look, let's play solo up the bass track. You can see what's going on with the frequencies when you play it back. So you can really see like where that cut is cutting the frequencies out. It's showing you what's going to your master bus. And this is actually on the mono track that I recorded in. This is the stereo bounce down here. But I wanted you to see Pro Q4. It's got a lot of great features. You can do dynamic EQ, which is killer. If you make the EQ dynamic, it turns down the curve on whatever frequency you choose by whatever amount you want it to choose. Once it's almost like a compression. Once it reaches a certain level, like a certain level over or under where you're EQing, it'll turn it down by the amount you set. So dynamic EQ is great. It's a lot like dynamic EQ is a lot like what's the word for it? Multiband compression. They do a similar thing, but multiband compression, you just get a certain number of frequencies, usually 3, I think, for a multiband compressor, but they do a very similar thing. Let's see. I have an error here. YouTube is not responding for some reason, this says. So let's see what's going on. It's probably still good. I've had this error pop up before, but we'll just keep it going. We got about 15 minutes left. So that's Pro Q4. We're looking fine on the CPU and on the. We're saying we're still streaming. It's yeah. So I'm just gonna keep rolling with it. If we lose the stream, oh well. Also, if you're checking this out live, leave me something in the chat. Let me know you're here. The point of a live stream is to get some community going, some conversations going, and that's what these live streams are about for me. And I want to hear what you all are working on, how you like to work, what you like to do in your studio. What kind of music do you make? Do you make all electronic things with MIDI instruments? Do you record real instruments and overdub like I do? Do you record bands? What's your thoughts on digital versus analog amplifiers for guitar amps? Do you think there's a difference in the DAW? Things like this I'm really interested in. Everybody seems to have a different opinion on it. you know, and they're all valid. There's no rules for this, right? Um, so let's listen to the Fender Twin with the both the Royer and the 57 on there. I'm just gonna pick a section. Um, so this is the Twin, and this is a track where I recorded parts and I muted parts. It's got some automation things coming in and out. So um, let's listen to this. Just these two mics. This is a Twin and the 57, or the Shure 545 on the Twin. Here we go. So that's just the 57. And that's just the Royer. So you can hear there that the Royer really has a very natural sound, which is one of the most important aspects of the microphone. So if you're doing single mic recording of just an acoustic session, one person singing and playing guitar at the same time, acoustic guitar, I feel like ribbon mics great for that. One mic, you know. There's AEA has a stereo ribbon mic that looks really cool, sounds really cool. It's quite pricey. I've heard demos of it. I think it's probably around $1,800, $2,000, but it's like the R44 but stereo. I think it's the R88 maybe, and it's killer. So you could do things like drum overheads with that one stereo mic, or room sounds with that stereo mic. I saw Lucas Nelson playing with the girl. Some artist, they were outside and had that R88 up, and it sounded killer, very natural. Great sound. What I might do now is just play a little more through this guitar amp, so we can hear what's going on with that. Yeah, it says I haven't dropped any frames, but I did get an error message, so I think we're still good. I'm just gonna mute this mic again, play a little more guitar, because I want to really try and get sounds. I might use it a little less crunchy this time. Might turn up a different delay, because I'm trying to work out how to get the sound to be less direct. And it might be, you know, it actually did it on my dual rectifier too, and that's a Celestion Vintage 30 in there. I was thinking maybe it's the JBL, but it sounded pretty direct off a Celestion too, with my dual rectifier. So let me mute this mic. I'm going to take the amp back off standby and just play a little bit. So we'll do that, and then I'll play, you know, I'll end the stream with a song, like a tracking session that I had in the studio for a song, and play that for you so you can hear some music and enjoy your Thursday. But let's listen to some more of this Fender Twin. Okay, so I turned on the Boss fuzz, the FZ1W. So I'm gonna let you hear that fuzz. It's a great sounding fuzz, very versatile. It'll go everywhere from like from overdrive sounds or distortion sounds, light distortion sounds, not crazy, to very crazy fuzz, like a big muff, and everything in between. And it's got a good roll down, almost like a fuzz face, where you can roll down and get clean tones out of it as well. Not quite as good as a fuzz face. I have an Analog Man Sun Face down there, Germanium Sun Face too. It's not quite that good at the roll down, but it is good. So I'm going to play that a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to play, but I'm just going to play. Alright, I'm going to close it out with the song, y'all. Here we go. Here's a video, a music video and song.